anybody?
Yes.
Good, glad to hear it. Just a minute, let's see. Oh yeah. Can't see you properly. There's some stuff in the way. What am I going to do about it? Oh, just a minute. Let's get rid of these. That's better. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Right. Now, what I was doing there, I will explain my lunacy of doing that in a moment. If I've got the right thing working, which I have. Right, is it going to work? It is. See what that is? What I just did was a symbolic wall. I put up a wall in between you. I knocked at the wall to see if there was some way in which I could communicate with you. And what I wanted to talk about this morning is ways in which we can break down the wall that inhibits learning. Don't say teaching, don't say studying, don't say doing assignments, don't say doing talks or doing them by a certain time. I say doing learning. And what I want to talk about for a few minutes this morning is about learning processes. Let's go on. Now, you see what I put up there? Two-way rather than one-way communication. Now, let me explain what I mean by that. Sometimes I have to make an admission here. Some of you will know this, but others of you don't. I do a lot of group work in my class. And sometimes when I am doing a lot of group work in my class, everybody is so happy doing group work that I have nothing to do. This is called student-centered learning. Didn't you know that? Student-centered learning means the students do all the work and the teacher. No. One of the things that I like to do, and this is a terrible admission to make, is that I go out of my classroom and I listen at the door of other classrooms. And as you notice, I have big ears here. And I listen, and I hear this. Talk, 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 talk. I hear one person talking and not much student response. Now, what I would like in a learning situation, what I would think an ideal learning situation is where we don't talk all the time. I hate the sound of my own voice. It's boring. So I would, in an ideal situation, look for a form of learning that means that learners speak and educators don't speak. But how do we achieve this? That's what I start with. We talk about creating a learning environment. Now, what do I mean by a learning environment? You see the picture there? The picture shows group work. Now, some of you hate group work. I know this, that some of you hate group work. Others of you love group work. Because some of you think, I don't have to do any work, I will leave it to somebody else. And it's no use any of you looking down. If you look down, I know which ones it is. Yes. Anyway, let's go on. But one of the things about one of the reasons why I believe group work is a useful thing to do, I've put validating individual contributions. In group work, nobody is making a judgment on you. Each person in the group works together, and in an ideal group situation, each individual should be able to contribute. If each individual thinks they are contributing to their own learning, then this might help the learning environment. Let's go on. Lesson plans. Lesson. We all know about lesson plans. Lesson plans are those things that have 3 beginning, middle and end bits. Some of you have done at least 5 million lesson plans. But I'm asking, an ideal lesson plan should be something that actually goes for skills rather than knowledge. If you're going to plan a lesson, I don't know, I am much more interested in lesson plans that actually ask people to develop the skills, reading, writing, listening and speaking. And this not only applies to ELT, it applies to other subjects as well. Let me go on. How else can we create a learning environment? Encouraging non-evaluative rather than evaluative judgments. There might not necessarily be one right answer to a question. For those who don't understand what that means, let me give you an example of this. When I was small, about 6 million years ago, in England, I had a private school teacher. He was terrible. If you got the wrong answer, everybody who got the wrong answer at the end of the classroom would have to line up at the end of the class, and they would then have to be explained. Why did you not learn your work properly? Why do you not do this? Why do you not do that? And I remember at the end of my class, I used to be like this. I used to make myself sick deliberately so I could miss the class. That is what you call an evaluative judgment. You are bad. You are good. You are stupid. You are clever. That is an evaluative judgment. A non-evaluative judgment is something like, this is okay, but. Who's to say that a learner is intelligent? Who's to say that a learner isn't intelligent? How do we measure intelligence? I'll give you one example of this. When I was 13 years old, I finished bottom of my class. Bottom in English, bottom in literature. I was a failure. And the reason for that was because the teachers were so involved in saying, you're bad. You say that to a child all the time. You're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. A child will eventually think that they are bad. So, in a learning environment, we have to be careful with our judgments. This would confuse Sherlock Holmes. This is a bit of a joke there. Sherlock Holmes always wants the right answer. I'm saying there isn't a right answer. Let's continue. Now, take a break. Critical thinking. Do we know what critical thinking means? Do you? Well, tell me what critical thinking is. What's critical thinking? Tell me. What's critical thinking? Yes, tell me.
It means to be able to think at different things from different views of thought.
From different points of view. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, for example, when we look at this picture,
Yeah.
we may have different comments or different thoughts may come to our mind.
Okay, anybody else want to tell me what critical thinking is, or are you all asleep? Have I put you to sleep yet? Somebody nodded over here. What's critical thinking? Come on, don't be shy, no one's going to... Tell me.
Critical thinking is maybe every people is different, so
Right.
So every people have different point of view.
Okay.
So critical thinking is changeable for everyone.
Absolutely. Then that's two very good points. Critical thinking is to allow people to have different points of view. To allow for the fact that people learn in different ways. To allow for the fact that learning doesn't just take place in the classroom, but takes place at any time of the day or night. Sometimes I've often kept a little notebook beside my bed, and suddenly, my God, I've got an idea, and I write it down at 2 o'clock in the morning and then can't sleep. And I think this is one of the things to remember, that a learning environment should be an environment that recognizes that learning doesn't just take place between 9 o'clock and 9